everybody. Welcome. Here we go. It's that time again. Matt Connarton Unleashed. And we are live from the studios of WMNH 95.3 FM in glorious downtown Manchester, New Hampshire. Also on Comcast 97 if you're in Manchester. And hello to all of our online listeners from across the nation and around the globe. And you can go to my website, mattconnerton.com, for all of your live streaming options, social media links, contact info, show archives, etc., etc. It is Wednesday, January 26, 2022. So nice to have you all with me. I do want to remind you, of course, we are proudly sponsored by the Hop Knot on Elm, right in the Brady Sullivan at 1000 Elm Street. They've got those delicious gourmet pretzels you've heard so much about and have probably experienced, hopefully. But if you haven't yet, you need to get on over there. They also have an assortment of craft beer, and the service is great. The food is great. Such a wonderful family that owns and operates it. This is what they posted today on social media. Attention pretzel lovers, have you tried our 5 different pretzel flavors yet? There's traditional, garlic basil, Asiano, am I saying that correctly? Asiago, Parmesan, I don't know. Cool Ranch, and everything. Yes, everything is a flavor. Freshly baked and served with a choice of dipping sauce. Don't forget, tomorrow is trivia night with Bill Cini. Starts promptly at 7 p.m. Be there or be square. And hoppy hours, because it's the Hop Knot, are 4 to 7 p.m. So there you go. The Hop Knot. Wonderful to have them as a sponsor. And they have a lot coming up in 2022. Let's see. Let me give the number, 603-250-6007, if you'd like to join us today. 603-250-6007. You can also text me at 617-917-4476. Tweet me at Matt Connarton, or send an email to matt@mattconnerton.com. And, of course, you can interact and opine in the Facebook live chat. But the best thing to do so that we can hear and enjoy your dulcet tones is to give us a call at 603-250-6007. But let's say hello to everybody in the Facebook live chat. Jenny is first one in and says, Shalom, peeps. By the way, programming note for you, it is Wednesday, which means tonight Jenny will be appearing on the Charles Richardson Show. Jenny recently became one of the official co-hosts on that show, so she's on there. Charles is on every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Jenny is on every Wednesday and Friday, not Mondays, unless she does end up making an appearance. But every Wednesday and Friday, she's on there from 7 to 9 p.m. online, the Charles Richardson Show. So you can check that out tonight. Rocky Huber is in the chat room and says, what's up, family? What's up, Rocky? Easy G Eric Gagnon joins us. Hello, Easy G, our retired entertainment reporter. Easy G, I think it's been deleted. It was removed from Facebook. Perhaps Eric removed it himself. But there was a picture on that Easy G shared out earlier where, he looked a bit androgynous, if we can use that term. It was the cause of some speculation. Rocky Huber says, I miss Easy G. I remember this time we went into the mall and he saw his dad and he literally ran out of the mall so his dad wouldn't see him. This was last year. True story. Yes. Well, apparently, they weren't getting along. When we did the Miracle on Elm Street event at the bonfire, I was hoping Easy G would show up, but instead his dad was there, which is probably why Easy G was not there if they're avoiding each other. My goodness. Let's see. Jenny says, miss you, Easy G. We all miss Easy G. Easy G says, that's something you should not say. Come on, man. Oh, I think Eric, of course, evoking the words of our president, Joseph Robinette Biden. That's his middle name, by the way. Did you know that? Robinette. But he likes to say that. Come on, man. Mike Palapita joins us in the chat. Mike, of course, from another one of our great sponsors here at WMNH 95.3 FM, Queen City Cabinetry. Of course, in the historic Sunbeam Mall, named for the great General Sunbeam, the greatest military mind since sliced bread. He did win the war, although I have heard rumor of his statue being removed. I don't know if that's true. Eric says, I love me some hop knots. And hello, here's a new name in the Facebook live chat, Mark Flanagan, who says, good morning from Sydney, Australia. Well, good morning to you, Mark. So in Australia, it is morning. Well, we do have, as I always say, listeners from across the nation and around the globe, as we are transcontinental. Rocky says, and just like that, a new EZG scandal is born. Oh, that's true. I mean, if that picture EZG posted earlier could be considered scandalous. Yes, yes. And Melanie La Liberty from the great state of Vermont says, I don't miss Easy. He hurt my feelings. Oh, that must be what the scandal is. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, Melanie. I'm very sorry to hear that. And Eric Street joins us in the, oh, that's a great idea, Eric. Eric Street joins us in the chat room and says, this can be the Australian morning show. Yes, yes. Welcome to the morning show with Matt Connarton live in Australia. I like it. That's good thinking, Eric. That is very good thinking, Eric Street. Let's see. We have much to discuss, my friends. There's a million things going on. And I want to, one of the things, oh, hello to Miriam Banish, who joins us in the chat. Miriam says, it took ages for me to figure out that photo was Eric with a filter, LOL. Oh, that was Eric with a filter. I figured he'd actually slapped on some lipstick. I wasn't going to make any judgments. I support EZG and all of his choices. But let me give the number one more time, and then I want to get into some things. 603-250-6007 is the number, 603-250-6007. I do want to talk about Russia, and as that continues to be a fast-moving story, and not particularly in a good way. However, this we won't spend a lot of time on, but I have to say, well, here, this is the story. This is from people.com, but it's being reported everywhere. Boston Hospital will not perform heart transplant for man who refuses to get COVID-19 vaccine. Have you heard about this? DJ Ferguson, a 31-year-old father of two with a third child on the way, is in desperate need of a new heart, but he, quote, doesn't really believe in the COVID-19 vaccine, his father said. Now, we'll get into the story here. It's not very long, but let me just say, I got to tell you, I'm very critical of anti-vaxxers, as you know, if you're a regular listener of the show, but in a twisted, dark way, man, I mean, this guy really is standing by his convictions. But it's remarkable. It's kind of a new twist on something that we've seen. You know, there are some people, there are anti-vaxxers who find themselves in a situation where they get COVID and they end up in the hospital. Maybe they end up intubated. They're on a breathing tube, whatever it is. And some of them, will kind of have a come to Jesus moment, when they're in a position where they might actually be meeting Jesus face to face very soon. Where they'll, if that's your bag, if you believe that, where they will say, I made a mistake. I should have gotten vaccinated. I should have taken this more seriously, and I should have gotten vaccinated. There has also been this interesting phenomenon, and these are the true believers, or I should say the true non-believers, who, even as they're in a hospital bed getting ready to die from COVID-19, they'll say, nope, I still don't think this is real, or no, I don't regret not getting vaccinated. I guess, and they're wrong and they're foolish, but I understand. I think I understand the psychology in their minds. Part of it might just be denial, but part of that might be too that they feel that believing in science or modern medicine, or their would be giving in to the communist, those commie Democrats and their science, they think it's unpatriotic. They think it's so unpatriotic to get vaccinated, because the government wants you to. Therefore, obviously, it's unpatriotic to actually do it. So therefore, they convince themselves that they're giving up. It's worth giving up their own life for their love of country, you know? It's like, I heard somebody saying, well, these people aren't happy to die. It's like, well, I think some of them actually probably are not happy to die, but some of them I think are okay with it because, they really believe they're giving their life for their country, for patriot, better dead than red, right? But this guy is taking it to a whole new level. This guy is actually going to die. He is so committed to being an anti-vaxxer. He's actually willing to die by not getting a heart transplant. And again, I'm sure he thinks he's going to be rewarded in the afterlife for his patriotism. But I mean, hey, I'll tell you what, if you're, talk about putting it all on the line, buddy, good luck to you. He'll be dead soon, but whatever. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed. Who's this?
Hello, Matt. It's Pauly C.
Pauly C, how are you feeling?
I'm doing all right. I'm hanging in there.
Yes.
And you know why I'm hanging in there, Matt?
Because you're vaccinated?
Because I'm vaccinated and I'm boosted. I'm
Yes.
sitting here and I feel tired and fatigued. If I stand up and move around for too long of a time, I just feel more tired and fatigued.
Yeah.
And I sit down and I rest, which is what I've been doing, and I make sure to eat and stay hydrated.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to get through it. And, as you know, I posted publicly on Facebook yesterday that it's because I got COVID that I'm not doing my radio show. Mm-hmm. And I got a message from a friend of mine who I've known for probably about 10 years now. And she commented on my post, I don't know if you saw it, that she wants me to please stay healthy, and she's very, very glad that I got vaccinated because she just lost her husband 2 weeks ago to COVID.
Yeah.
And I knew him as well. In fact, I knew him before I knew her, and I was shocked. Now, I don't know if this person was vaccinated or not. I do know their political opinions on things, which is one of the reasons why I really wasn't following this person on Facebook. I don't really follow anybody on Facebook who posts a lot of political stuff, Matt. It's just, no matter what they believe in, I don't go to Facebook for people to soapbox on my news feed about how they feel about politics. It's just not my thing. There's a time and a place for everything. And for me personally, social media is a platform for me to promote the radio show and connect with friends who I haven't seen in a long, long time. And that's pretty much it, but when she told me this, that he passed away, I was just sitting here so grateful that I was able to go out and get my shots. Mm-hmm. I've been putting off my booster for so long, only because I've been way, way too busy to do anything until I realized that I'm allowed actually where I work to go get a booster. So that's what I did almost 2 weeks ago now. And then this past Wednesday, last week, a week ago today, or actually it was Thursday, that's when I started getting really run down. I felt like I was getting a flu. I got chilly and I was freezing, but I was sweating, and I laid down, and it was like that for quite a few days, but it's eased up, and I seem to be going in the right direction.
Yeah.
The fatigue and the tired feeling won't go away, but it will eventually, based on people who've reached out to me and talked to me about what they went through. So I'm just very, very glad that I was boosted. This isn't about politics. This is about people living and dying. Mm-hmm. And if you don't want to die, no matter what political slant you have in your life, just like Facebook, there's a time and a place for everything. In a pandemic, there's no place for politics. Mm-hmm. You do what the medical professionals tell you to do if you want to live. Yep. And if you want to climb up on your soapbox and incorporate politics into this and not get shots or not get boosted, well, you will be a martyr for your own stupid beliefs.
Mm-hmm. Well said, Paul.
I'm living proof that the booster works. I'm sitting here, and I feel like, well, I described how I feel on Facebook, but you know what? There are people dying, and I'm not going to die.
Right.
I'm not going to die. I'm going to be one of the people who gets through this because I got a booster. So please, listen to Matt. Listen to the CDC. Listen to everybody who tells you to go get boosted because it's going to save your life.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can get back on your platform and spew your crap. Not you. You know it.
I know what you mean. Yes, I do. Yeah.
All right, Matt. I am going to go back and lay down and listen to your show. Keep it up. Big fan.
All right.
Have a good day.
Awesome. Thanks, Paul. Take care.
Hey, we will be back. We will be back on the air with Retro Spectrum Radio a week from this Friday.
A week from Friday. That sounds great. All right, Paul.
All right, brother. Take care.
All right, you too, man. Bye-bye. All right, that is our friend Pauly C, of course, from Retro Spectrum Radio with Pauly C. Friday nights at 7:30 here from the studios of WMNH. And yes, Paul has been sick with COVID, but I'm really glad he's vaccinated and boosted, of course. And so he knows he's going to get through it. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed. Who's this?
Hey, it's Charles. How you doing?
Charles Richardson from the great state of Florida. How are you, my friend?
I think I just need to jolt this with a little bit of an energy boost with my voice and upbeat personality. Pauly, no offense, man. You need an energy drink or something, man. But get better, though, seriously.
Yeah. He's just got to, I would imagine when you're feeling this badly with the fatigue from COVID, even, probably all the caffeine in the world is not going to help you.
You'd be surprised, man. You'd be surprised.
And that's coming from a caffeine addict who's saying this. But anyway, yeah. But you don't want too much.
I wanted to call in and play the good cop, bad cop on what Pauly C just said.
Okay.
So here's the thing, and now I understand Pauly C. Great, you're not getting as bad as somebody that may be dying, and I know the records show that they're in the 90s, 96, 97% of the people in the hospital that are suffering really badly are unvaccinated.
Mm-hmm.
However, there is one person that is not vaxxed that has COVID currently, and you may know her. She's a co-host on my show. Her name is Karen.
Oh.
And she's against the vaccination, wearing masks only as absolutely necessary. And she just had a little bit of congestion, cough, achy, and David got it as well. So It's running rampant in the house, but she's okay.
Good.
She's not going to the hospital unvaccinated.
Yeah.
So with the numbers, I understand the numbers. The numbers, and also don't forget, I think both sides of the pond, numbers could be inflated by whoever wants to publish them. What do we know is true anymore? But if these numbers are true, I agree that I think vaccinated definitely errs on the side of caution.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not for everybody going to be the saving grace. Like Karen, she's unvaccinated, doesn't like wearing masks, so she probably goes to a lot of the convenience stores and the stores without a mask because I don't need to.
Yeah, she's probably
like doctors' offices and stuff, and like the doctors at hospitals,
spreading it around.
They're gonna make you wear those.
Yep.
But just want to say, it's like when you get one person like Pauly C, who is vaccinated, gets COVID, and he's doing okay, just worn out. But then you have somebody else in the similar predicament, didn't get vaccinated. So the question remains, and everybody's going to have that statement too that's already on their soapbox. They're going to say, well, I got it, or somebody got it, and I knew them, and they weren't vaccinated. They were fine. Do you want to play Russian roulette with getting with getting COVID and hoping your body is as well adjusted to it like Karen is? Or do you want to have that extra backup just in case your body is not up to par?
Right, it's not worth the risk.
That's something to think about.
Like you said, it's Russian roulette, and Karen's fortunate, and I'm glad it sounds like she's going to be okay. Although one of the insidious things about COVID, and I think this is less the case with Omicron, in contrast with previous variants. But, sometimes people who are unvaccinated, they get sick. It's not too bad. They think they're okay. They start to feel better. And then all of a sudden they start to feel even worse than they did initially. And it's kind of a roller coaster. So I hope that doesn't happen to her. But that does happen to some unvaccinated people. They get it. They're like, oh, I'm doing okay with it. And then they get really seriously ill. So, but
it's only been a week that she told me exactly this day last week. She tested, her and David tested positive for COVID. So
yeah.
So I went ahead and put in the mandatory Charles Richardson show mandate rule. You need to stay off the show for 14 days unless you can do it remotely. So it's sad because she won't be on tonight or tomorrow, and that's where it wraps around my birthday. But it's okay. We'll save her a piece of cake for when she does come back, like in the first part of February.
Oh, so she actually I forgot about that. So she actually goes there and does the show with you, right?
Yes, correct. She's
gotcha.
the only one that actually travels to come do the show. Heather, Dirk Don, Billy when he does it, even, of course, Christian, he doesn't travel. But I'm just saying it's like, that they're all remotes, but Karen is live in studio.
Yeah. Yep. So, yeah, you made the correct and obvious choice. Yes, you want to keep her away from you and your family, of course.
I just want to go ahead and state, listen, I lean towards the vaccination, even though before I was like uneasy about it. I wasn't sure about it. Then the numbers started rolling in, and again, even with what I just said, numbers can be influenced by anybody. So, and that's the scary part. But I'm trusting the numbers, and I went ahead and with a little bit of family forcing me to do it, but I still did it, and I got boosted.
Yeah,
so
I'm glad, Charles.
I still say it's everybody's decision. I don't hate you for your decision. You can go ahead and do what you want. I'm just saying, think about it.
Mm-hmm.
With the stuff that you put in your body, I know it's been approved, which I put that in with a star asterisk after it. But it's still something that you should take. I would do risk reward, and I think the reward outweighs the risk in getting it. I haven't turned into a zombie yet.
Yep.
I haven't gone like a third leg or anything else that so far so good in regards to that. What happens 10 to 15 years down the line? Hey, things change. Now we have an Omicron 2.0 or something out there.
Well, there is that
we're trying to figure out.
Yeah,
it's crazy. So you don't know what's going to happen in 5 or 10 years. But right now in the immediate future, people are perishing because of either their decisions to protect themselves, say socially distance, mask yourself, sanitize yourself, wash your hands, be clean, for crying out loud.
Mm-hmm.
That's not something that we automatically say, oh my God, I didn't think we should be clean. Yeah, wash your hands.
And those
stop touching your face all the time.
And those good health habits, Charles, will keep you from getting sick with other things too, like like colds and flus and things like that. Not just COVID,
exactly.
but everything. You'll be healthier in general if you do those things. Yep, absolutely.
It's a circle of life. Well, I thought I'd go ahead and weigh in. Don't forget, listen tonight, Wednesday and Fridays and Mondays, my show, 7 to 9 p.m., right there on IPMNation.com.
All right, very good. Charles, thank you for the call, my friend.
You got it. Take care.
All right, take care. Bye-bye. All right, that was Charles Richardson from The Charles Richardson Show. And as I mentioned earlier, Jenny is one of the co-hosts on that program. That'll be on tonight, 7 to 9 online. And let's see, 603-250-6007 is a number if you'd like to call in. 603-250-6007. Well, here, we'll come back to this story. There's some comments in the Facebook live chat on this topic. Let's see. So, we were starting to talk about this guy he's going to die. Obviously this 31-year-old man in Boston who needs a heart transplant, and he's been taken off the list. He was set to go, but now he's been taken off the list because he refuses to get vaccinated and, being committed to that anti-vax ideology. He feels so strongly about it, he's going to give his life. He's going to die for his belief in being an anti-vaxxer. Yeah, Jenny says, that's not new. You have to agree to certain things before they give you an organ. Yeah, because from what I understand, when you get any kind of an organ transplant, your immune system is going to be pretty vulnerable going through that process. So, it's quite literally for his own good that he get vaccinated. But he's going to need when you get an organ transplant, you need all the help you can get. Pauly C also, by the way, is in the Facebook live chat and says, hello, sick fan, because he usually says hello, big fan. Rocky Huber says he won't get injected with a vaccine, but he wants to get injected with a new heart. Sorry, no heart for you, LOL. Yeah, I mean, that part of it's pretty remarkable, too. So apparently he's so skeptical of modern medicine that he doesn't want anything to do with that vaccine. Oh, but he'll go through the ordeal of a heart transplant. That he's comfortable with. Yeah, it's just incredible. But this is why I always say ideology is so toxic, because it makes you make terrible choices. I mean, I'm sorry, but this is not a matter of opinion that this guy is a fool. This is a fact. I mean, I think we can all agree on that, right? This guy needs a heart transplant, but because he insists on being an anti-vaxxer, he's going to die. I mean, if he's so convinced that the vaccine is going to do him harm, at least in his mind, the vaccine's not going to do him any harm. Pretty damned unlikely. But he's made the calculation in his mind, apparently, that this vaccine is so dangerous to him that he might as well just not get the heart transplant and die anyway, I guess. But this is what ideology does. It makes you do dumb things, and this man is a fool. And again, that is not my opinion that this man is a fool. That is a fact. I will stand by that. That is a statement of fact. I cannot imagine any counter-argument for what I'm saying about this guy, this heart transplant patient. Charles Richardson, by the way, also in the Facebook live chat. Hello, Charles. Miriam Banish says, it is worth giving their life to die, but not worth wearing a mask and getting vaccinated for his country. Well, Miriam, you know what he'd probably say? Hey, what about freedom and liberty? Chris Poirier joins us in the Facebook live chat, a great local comedian who's been on the show. Hello, Chris. Also known as Crispy. Melanie says, ha, if he is Christian, he won't get the 40 virgins waiting for him when he dies. What a loser. I guess, because this guy's willing to martyr himself, apparently. Chris Poirier says, I believe in science and facts. Oy vey, get vaxxed and boosted and save others. Right. You do it not only for yourself, but so you don't harm others who you're spreading it to. Stefan Philbrook joins us in the chat and says, give the heart to someone more deserving. Let him die a paper martyr. Absolutely. Miriam says, so sorry you're sick, Pauly. See? Miriam also says, the virus doesn't care if people believe. That's true. You can be skeptical all you want. You can not believe in COVID-19 all you want to. But COVID believes in you, and it's just waiting to get into your system and mess you up. Stephen Philbrook says, I as well have had my booster. Apparently, the side effect I have, people have noted that I'm less a-hole-ish. I had to clean that up a little bit for FM radio. Melanie La Liberty says, this is referring to Charles's co-host Karen, who is anti-vax and refuses to wear a mask and who has COVID. Melanie says she may pass it to someone who would have to go to the hospital or die. I don't understand how anyone would feel this is okay. Well, yeah. I mean, that's the thing that I've noticed consistently with anti-vaxxers is they don't seem to care. You know, and I mean, I know Karen from the show, and she seems like a perfectly nice person, but from Charles's show. But anti-vaxxers just don't seem to, if you present that argument to them, well, you know, okay, you don't want to do this, but don't you want to protect others? They don't seem to care. I guess that whole freedom and liberty thing means I only have to care about me. I don't have to care about anyone else. Because when you're a real American, you only care about yourself. That's what America's all about. Selfishness and narcissism. That's what a real patriot is, right? I mean, that's just their attitude about it. They don't care. You know, you could show them evidence that they've passed it to other people at a super spreader event, and they just they don't want to hear it. Doesn't matter to them. Does not matter to them. Melanie says, or they are perishing because of someone else's choice and the consequence of that person exposing them. Rocky says, sounds like the typical Florida response. Oh, no, let's not pick on the Sunshine State. Now, Charles is from Florida, and we love Charles. Melanie says, the elderly and disabled should not be collateral damage because of the quote-unquote freedom of others. Well, I agree with that, Melanie, but, you know, as we've discussed on the show, and also you had shared out an opinion piece about that very subject that someone had written the other day, there is this strange attitude in this country. Maybe it's not, I don't know if it's strange necessarily, if that's the right word, because it's somewhat predictable, because we tend to discard people in our culture very easily, you know, people who are old, and disabled too. You know, there's this sort of attitude that, I mean, we've really seen it with COVID, but I think it was already under the surface. But we've seen it with the pandemic that it's like, oh, this only kills people over a certain age. Oh, it only kills people with underlying conditions. Oh, well, then it's no big deal. Who cares? And then people try to do this thing where they'll say, well, what about the flu? The flu kills old people and people with underlying conditions too. And it's like, okay, but these numbers don't match up. I mean, that is true, but COVID-19 kills exponentially more people than it does the flu. By the way, for any COVID deniers or anti-vaxxers who happen to be listening, the word exponentially means it kills way more people. Just for anyone who's confused by big words. Tom Blanchard says, boy, she must know more than every doctor in the country. She probably went online and did her own research. Stefan says, again, this is referring to that heart patient. What if the heart he was receiving was vaccinated and boosted? Would he reject the heart if it came from a vaccinated, boosted person? That's funny. And actually a legitimate question, but it is funny. I hadn't thought of that, Stefan. That's good. Tom Blanchard says, thin the herd. He also says, as soon as they mention Nazi, I unfriend you. Yeah. There is that too among the anti-vax crowd. You know, oh, these Nazis that want you to get vaccinated. Angela Philbrook joins us in the chat. Hello, Angela. Easy G says, Matt, everyday people make choices, sometimes bad or good. Well, that literally is true. Charles says, once Karen found out she had the virus, she is starting now to mask up anywhere she goes, even inside her own home, wearing gloves and using paper materials for dinner. For dinnerware. Just saying, she is taking extra precautions now that she does have the virus. Well, that's good. I'm glad. I'm glad she's taking it seriously now that she has it. Melanie says, you are contagious 2 days prior to having symptoms. She may have exposed people. Yeah. I mean, it'd be nice if anti-vaxxers would at least put on a face mask. So, you know, if they want to not get vaccinated, at least they're not spreading it to other people. But unfortunately, those things don't match up. If you're an anti-vaxxer, you're also an anti-masker typically, and vice versa. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed. Who's this?
Hi, Matt. This is Karen. How are you?
Good, Karen. How are you?
I'm doing well. First, I just want to say, Pauly, I hope you'll get well quickly, and everything goes well, even long term. And then I just want to say that I have a problem with people that are out there going percentages and numbers, and these are people's lives that are lost. Their futures that are gone. Their family members that have empty spaces in their homes now, and a number is useless. It really doesn't matter, inflated or not inflated. People aren't numbers.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean, Karen, because by the way, we should clarify for anyone who's confused, this is not the same Karen who is Charles's co-host on his show, just so everyone knows. But such a common name.
Thank
but
you.
I just want to make sure people know you're not the same Karen. No, but you're right with what you're saying, because I mean, I don't mind talking about numbers because it gives us a gauge on where we are with this and how horrific you can use numbers to kind of show people, look at how horrific this is. Look at all the sickness and death and how clogged our hospitals are and whatnot. So numbers can be used for, but people use them. People do kind of spin them. So, some people will say, oh, but only, such a small percentage of people actually die. So sometimes people use numbers to downplay the virus, which I wish people would not do. But I think the broader point that you're making, Karen, and tell me if I understand you correctly, and if I do, I agree with what you're saying, is that whatever the numbers are don't matter to a family who tonight has an empty seat at their dinner table because someone in their family died of COVID. The numbers don't matter to someone who's lost a friend or a coworker or whomever to COVID. You can tell someone, for example, that, the mortality rate, because something I hear a lot from anti-vaxxers and COVID deniers is how low the mortality rate is. And it's like, okay, but that's not of any comfort to someone who has actually lost someone to COVID, and it's not any comfort to someone who is currently in an ICU right now with a tube down their throat, getting ready to die, because most people who end up on a ventilator, the next step is death. So it's no comfort to them either, So I mean, I feel like that's what you're saying.
Yep, that's exactly what I'm saying. And also what people are not, I mean, they're touting their numbers and their survival rates. Nobody will actually know the long term from this COVID. There are a lot of people out there with long-term COVID. And this also can be lifelong problems that will, affect them for the rest of their lives, and can be the comorbidity result of their death in the future. Mm-hmm. So the numbers that everybody are, praising that this is a survival rate and people aren't dying, we will really never know the truth of how many people passed away because of their infection that they got.
Yep, that is an excellent point. I agree. Yeah, you're right. Absolutely.
I mean, as I had said before, my best friend has long-term COVID. She still does. She got COVID way in the beginning, before she could get a vaccination, before there were any type of treatment. So we're going on a good 2 years, and she still suffers. And, there are a lot of people out there that they're not giving you number lovers what's actually going on because they can't. So, yeah, they survived, but a lot of people have not recovered fully and may never recover fully. So there again, their lives and futures can be changed.
Yeah. I even think, Karen, that I might fall into that category. We'll never know. But, you may have heard me tell the story, and I know a lot of listeners who've been with me for a long time have heard this, but on Christmas night 2019, I ended up in the emergency room with difficulty breathing. And we now know that COVID was in the country by then, but we didn't know it at the time. So they didn't know what was going on, other than I was clearly having an asthma attack. But I had never had asthma before. And that's a little unusual. Usually asthma is something you're diagnosed with when you're a kid, and some people even grow out of it. But to suddenly be in my 40s and all of a sudden I have asthma, that's unusual. And I still, even now, I have to use a maintenance inhaler every morning, and I carry a rescue inhaler just in case. And so the theory that I have is I may have had COVID, and the COVID permanently damaged my lungs, or maybe someday they'll heal and it's, long COVID. But I may fall into that category because, I mean, it's not unheard of, but it is weird. And my doctor said it's unusual to be my age and after never having asthma before, suddenly have asthma. So it may have been a COVID infection.
Right, exactly. And it's things like that people aren't, they're like, yeah, so-and-so survived. Yeah, but how? I mean, asthma will now always be an underlying condition, and anything respiratory for you, is 2 to 10 times can be worse because of that. And that your health care and everything from that point on is affected. And that's what people, like I said, toting their numbers of survival. It depends on what you look at as survival.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If your life is changed, if your health is changed for the rest of your life, yes, thank God you lived. But, to me, your recovery isn't 100%. And that's what people are now saying. Yes, they survived, but have people really recovered?
Right.
Those are two different things.
Right. And that's much harder to track, how many people have long COVID or some sort of permanent damage, as, again, I think I may have. I think I had it and it permanently damaged my lungs. Those are, and I'm not counted as that. I was never even diagnosed with COVID. So you're right. And that is an element to this that we can't really have hard numbers on, but it's far too easy for people who want to downplay it to just ignore that part of it. They'll say, oh, look at the survival rate is 98% or whatever it is. It's like, okay, but of those people, how many of them have long COVID and are going to suffer? I mean, I've read some stories about people who have long COVID who are like not just minor symptoms of it either, but they have long COVID and every day is a struggle for them because they just, they got better, but they didn't get better enough. And they don't know,
right.
and they don't know if they ever will.
They even have organ damage, for heart and kidney and lungs. Depending on, depending on how bad the infection was. I mean, this is all stuff that, yes, our healthcare system is having a problem right now, but with long-term COVID, there is always going to be a problem.
And not only organ damage, Karen, but neurological damage, which is really scary. And, Jenny was the first one to point this out to me. When you lose your sense of taste or smell, that's your brain being affected. That's neurological. That's scary. And people who never get, and there are people who never get that back. They get COVID and they lose their sense of taste and smell, and it doesn't come back like the other symptoms go away, but they still can't taste or smell. That literally is brain damage. That's not something to shrug off either, but
no, it's not. And unfortunately, as I said, my best friend, she has the migraines from COVID and she has never gotten her sense of taste or smell back.
Yep. That's, I mean, that might be the case for the rest of her life. That sucks.
Right. It's 2 years out, so they really don't think she has much of a chance of getting it back at this point.
Yeah. Yep. So, yeah. So these are all things to consider when people are being dismissive about it.
Right, exactly. And one other thing is, I think the saddest thing is I read articles and I hear people talk and they're like bragging about being like 19th or 18th or 10th, for death rate in their state. What is so bragging about a death rate in your state,
Yeah, I know. This whole experience has taught us some things about human nature that it's a little discouraging.
It is. Actually, the other day I was talking to someone and they said, like, I have decided that the Americans I have put into two different categories. There are human beings that are doing whatever we can, to keep each other safe. And then there's the other species that don't want to do any of the vaccinations or anything like that to try to help anyone else.
And you know what's really sad too, Karen? The other species, as you call them, they think those of us who care and take this seriously, they look at us as though we're the ones who are weak, because they see caring about other people, and they see caring about public health, and they see having compassion and empathy for people who are suffering and dying. They see that as a weakness, when in reality, they're the ones who are weak, because having compassion and caring about other people and caring about public health, those are strengths, not weaknesses. But they don't get it.
Yeah.
They don't get it. They look at us as weak. And I think a lot of them deep down know that they're wrong, but they're so frustrated at the inconvenience, the terrible indignity about having to put on a face mask for 20 minutes while they do their grocery shopping or whatever it is. So they'd rather scream in some poor minimum wage employee's face about freedom and liberty and I don't have to do this and the Constitution says I don't have to wear a mask and, all that kind of stuff. And the reality is they're the ones who are weak because they cannot stand the slightest inconvenience in their lives to help protect other people. So they find ways, they find rationalizations and justifications and excuses, and they make stuff up that they know deep, deep down in the dark recesses of their souls. They know they're wrong. They know COVID is real, and they know that they should be doing things to protect not only themselves, but protect others. But they'll find any excuse they can, any rationalization they can to not have to suffer any inconvenience. And that is weak. They're the ones who are weak. They're the ones who are unpatriotic. They're the ones who are holding us all back. But because they're weak, they look at us as weak.
It's true. Well, you know what? To make one's self feel better, they always have to point at someone else and say it's your problem, I'm the good one. So that that's understandable of their human nature or their species.
Yes.
So.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I've said my piece. I would say I apologize if I've offended anybody, but I can't. If I've offended people that don't want to help each other out, I am not sorry. I'm not saying don't get treatment. There is COVID exhaustion, but I think it's COVID exhaustion of this other species. Yes, I'm tired of COVID and protecting. I don't like masks. I don't like all that stuff either. Mm-hmm. But that's not what is making me exhausted. It's listening to the stupidity of these moronic species that just won't help each other out.
Yep. Nope, I'm with you.
All right. Well, Matt, you have a great show and an evening.
All right, Karen. Thank you so much for the call. I appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right. That was Karen. Always nice to hear from Karen. That does open up a line for you, 603-250-6007, 603-250-6007. Miriam Banish in the chat says, I think people forget that there are children who are medically fragile. Well, yeah, but Miriam, again, it's not a matter of forgetting. It's a matter of not caring. A lot of people just don't care. They just don't care. We have a call. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed. Who's this?
Hi, Matt. Ron, how you doing, bud?
Good, Ron. How are you?
Good show tonight. Very interesting.
Thank you.
I wonder now, I tend to agree with you, and I know you don't always like that. You'd rather have someone not agree with you if they have a reason. But
Sure.
I tend to agree with you. The hospital's responsibility to provide the limited amount of donations to the strongest possible candidate, and that just makes sense. It's sad that the guy's choosing what he's choosing over, taking a medicine that made it to the market so quickly that he doesn't feel confident that all the bugs have been taken out of it. But in any event, so, it's sad, but it is what it is. Life and death is real, and it's going to happen to all of us. I wonder also what the hospital's possibility is for people that have religious beliefs that prevent them from getting blood transfusions, because I do know someone whose son had every possibility to live but because he changed his religion from what he was to his new religion, he chose not to get blood transfusions, and in the end, that's what killed him.
That apparently, by the way, Ron, when you bring up the blood transfusions, I'm always reminded of this. Jenny and I had talked about this just recently. That's the reason we lost Prince. Prince, who was, absolutely one of my favorite musicians of all time, definitely in my top 5. And but Prince got hooked on painkillers, pain medication, because he needed a hip replacement. But he wouldn't. He was in terrible discomfort, but he wouldn't get the hip. He couldn't get the hip replacement because it required a blood transfusion during the process of that. And Prince had become a Jehovah's Witness, and apparently they don't believe in blood transfusions. So, he didn't get the surgery. There was no way to do it without blood. So he didn't get the surgery, and instead he continued to be hooked on painkillers, and there was an overdose there. I don't remember what the medication was, but and I try to be respectful of everyone's belief systems and whatnot, but I don't know. I mean, is there even is there a religion that a mainstream religion, maybe there is, that I'm not aware of, where you're not allowed to get vaccinated? I mean, it seems pretty dubious to me when I hear someone say that. Well, my religious beliefs are that I can't get vaccinated. It's like, really? And does that apply to other vaccines that you're required to have just to go to school? Like, do you have a religious belief that says you can't be vaccinated for polio or smallpox or whatever too? I always find that dubious.
Well, I wasn't implying that he had a religious belief.
Oh, I know. No,
I was just saying. He's making a poor choice.
I got off on that because you mentioned blood transfusions, and that reminded me of Prince and how sometimes people's religious beliefs can, I say this with all due respect to people who believe whatever they believe, but if your religious beliefs are leading you to some very poor health choices, maybe it's worth examining. And Prince was such a heartbreak to me to lose him. So When Doves Cry is my favorite song of all time.
Yeah. I know some people that don't eat pork because of their religious beliefs, and that's fine. Okay.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And I know. I've spoke with these same people that said, in their religion, if there is no other food and to survive, you shall eat the pork, and that's the way it is.
Right.
So, I mean, if it's down to your survival,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think, my belief, Ron, is, and I think maybe you'll agree with me, is I think just generally speaking, whether it's politics, whether it's religion, whatever it is, I think things like logic and common sense should ultimately overrule everything else, So whatever beliefs you may have, be them religious or ideological or whatever, when you're staring death in the face, and, I think maybe you got to just think about, well, what is the smart decision here health-wise, and the rest will sort itself out. You know what I mean? And if your religion tells you that, well, you can't do this or you can't do that to save yourself, well, maybe, maybe God will forgive you if you, bend the rules a little bit for the sake of your own survival. And this guy, by the way, who can't get his organ transplant now because he won't get vaccinated, he's got a family. And so it's not even just about him. He's got children, So.
Well, yeah. Yeah, it's tragic.
Absolutely.
So I feel bad that he's not getting it and he's doomed, but, you make your own bed, that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Sleep,
Exactly. I don't feel badly
did you listen
for
to Katie?
Oh, Katie?
Yeah, did you get a chance to listen to her voice?
Oh, from yesterday's morning show when she
Yeah.
No, I didn't get a chance to go back and listen to all of it. I mean, I heard part of it yesterday. She's very talented, and so is her dad. But I haven't had a chance to go.
Yeah, both of them for sure.
I haven't had a chance to go back and listen to what I missed, but
okay, that's fine.
Yeah. All
right, brother. I'm gonna hang up and I'll continue listening. And I don't know. It's just one of those sad things.
Yeah.
His family can't. This family. I don't know. They must be standing behind his beliefs, but on the other hand, I'm thinking they're the ones that should push it, and they should just push it and change his mind.
Yeah.
Maybe it's too late, anyways. Now.
Yeah, I mean, from what I understand, he's already off. He's off the list. No heart for him.
Hey, no heart for him.
Oh, well.
Okay, pal.
All right, Ron, thank you so much for the call, my friend.
Good night.
All right, bye-bye. All right, that was our friend Ron. We're going to get to a break in a couple minutes, but I do want to get to the rest of these I see a lot of great Facebook comments. But if you'd like to chime in, too, on the phone, 603-250-6007, 603-250-6007. DJ Midas is in the chat. Midas, of course, recently celebrating 5 years here at WMNH with his great show, Late Night Delight, which is every Saturday night from midnight to 4 a.m. with a replay on Sunday. Midas says, my whole house just got through 2 harsh weeks of COVID. Stuff is no joke. Absolutely. Well, I hope everyone's feeling better. I know you've got a young son. So hope all is well. Easy G says, Stephen Breyer, Supreme Court retires. Who is next? Yeah, we might get to that today in the second hour. We'll see. That was big news that broke today. Apparently, Justice Breyer is upset. Somehow the news leaked out before he had a chance to announce it. Tony Petrello joins us in the chat, says, sometimes it's nice to listen to your show to get away from all the COVID talk. I never thought I'd be happier to have Crazy Joe call in, LOL. Oh, my goodness. I'll tell you what, the one nice thing I will say about Crazy Joe, he is not an anti-vaxxer. He says, that's one thing I will always agree with him on. He says in those videos that he posts, he says a lot of things I don't agree with, obviously. But one thing I do agree with him on that he says is he thinks it's the patriotic thing to do to help your fellow Americans get through this pandemic safely. And he's actually fairly eloquent about it. I'll even say that, believe it or not. Easy G says, I am one who is happy no more Crazy Joe. His act was getting old real fast. Tony Petrello says, I know COVID is real and I'm vaxxed and boosted, but it does get tiring. Where's Gene Simmons when you need him? Gene Simmons of KISS? Gene Simmons is very pro-vaccine. He and Paul Stanley both. But just another reason to be so proud to be a KISS fan. They're pretty outspoken about it, the importance of getting vaccinated and boosted. So Charles says, so Matt, question, where does that put my wife? She does not want to get the vaccination because she's not sure about it and scared, but she also does the masking and the sanitized thing. Would you put her in that? Well, I'm glad that, I'm glad that she wears a mask and sanitizes things. So it sounds like she's taking it somewhat seriously, but it troubles me that she's not vaccinated. I would just wonder, see, here's the thing too, and we've talked about this on the show, but what does her doctor say? Because I've said this, because I know someone who has called into the show, who's because of some specific health maladies that this person deals with, his doctor told him it might be better for him not to get vaccinated. And just to be clear, and it's good to restate this, if you're in a situation, if you're not vaccinated because you had a conversation with your doctor, be it your primary care physician, or maybe you have some other health provider that you deal with, and they tell you that for whatever reason, because of your own health situation, they tell you that they don't think that you should get vaccinated, I got no beef with you. What I do have a problem with is the people, and there are so many of them that I've interrupted. We'll get to you in a second, caller. There are so many of them that I've, did I say interrupted? That I've interacted with, who, if you say to them, okay, you're not getting vaccinated, well, what does your doctor say about it? And they'll say, oh, I haven't talked to my doctor. I've never asked my doctor about it. I went online and did my own research. Two problems with that. Number one, whenever someone says, oh, I did my own research, I know what that means. So in other words, you went to some anti-vax fringe websites that tell you what you already want to hear, or you watched a YouTube video from some quack who's an anti-vaxxer. I get it, right? But the other problem I have is, okay, I'm assuming that any other medical question you have in your life, you're going to ask your doctor, right? Anything else, anything that's wrong, anything that doesn't feel right, a question about medication, you're probably going to have a conversation with your doctor, right? Oh, but when it comes to this one thing, this one thing, you will not engage with your primary care physician about this one issue. Why is that? Why is that? I know why. Because your doctor is going to tell you something that you don't want to hear. Because ideologically, you think that you are supposed to be anti-vax, and you don't, and you know your doctor doesn't care about what your ideology is or how you vote. Your doctor's going to say, yeah, dummy, of course you got to get vaccinated. And you don't want to hear it. So instead, you quote unquote do your own research. That I have a problem with. What does your doctor say about it? Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed. Who's this?
She doesn't have a doctor. So that's why I wanted to call in, because the Facebook chat's kind of lagging, and I know you're going to go to break, so I wanted to kind of clear this up.
Yeah.
She doesn't have a doctor. She's scared of doctors. That's another thing, too. Let's put it this way. She has a continuous back problem. A continuous, I said, go see a who does with backs. I can't believe I don't know that name.
Chiropractor?
Anyway, chiropractor.
Yeah.
Thank you. She will not go see one. Oh, what are they going to do? What are they going to? Well, you don't know until you go see one. So I do get it. She is an idiot on that perspective. I get that. So I'm okay calling my wife an idiot. Listen, you tell me I need to go see a doctor for my health, but you are in pain so much that I have to rub ice on you at least half the week.
Oh, really?
And, but what they get at the time?
Yeah. No,
No, she has not done any research. She's against most vaccines anyway, but she's fair enough to go ahead and say, we need to make masks. You need to wear them. Are you going into the gas station? You wearing the mask? You sanitizing your hands? Is Stefan wearing the mask? Our youngest son. Make sure he wears a mask. You didn't wear a mask? I'm yelling at you. So
that's good.
Down
That's
our
good.
throats to go ahead and do the mask thing.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Is there a gray area here? Because I hate to go ahead and call my wife somebody that doesn't care, because it seems like she does, but it's to the point where she has a lot of reservations in regards to the vaccine.
Yeah.
Even though her whole family's taken it, even though I've taken it.
Yep.
But she still has reservations on it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, right. It's obviously she does care if she's militant about masking, which I commend her on. That's great. I mean, yeah, and I certainly have known quite a number of people over the course of my life who are very reluctant and resistant to going to a doctor. I don't know how you overcome that. I mean, if she's in pain all the time and won't even, obviously she's pretty afraid of.
Mesmerize her.
I told and I'm gonna try it, and I'm being serious about this, so I'm not joking around.
Yeah.
She's quite a big girl up top. I even told her, what about surgery?
Yeah.
How about getting rid of that extra weight? Because I'll bet you anything that's causing the problem, or it's
back pain
to the problem.
Yep, that's very common.
She doesn't want to do that. It's like anything I recommend, it's like, oh, this will help you. This will help you. No, what if they make it worse?
Well, that is a big.
How do you argue with that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the breast reduction surgery, I mean, that is a big step. Any kind of invasive surgery like that, I can understand being intimidated by that. But why not? But why not at least go to a chiropractor if she's in back pain all the time? You know what I mean?
Or an osteopath.
Yeah.
And it's like one of those nerves that shoots down her leg. It's like, and they
that's
do
sciatica.
that. I know they help with that.
Yeah.
Sciatica, thank you.
Yeah, that's I've had that.
I have it. I've been having back problems today.
Are you? Yeah.
I didn't think I was going to be able to do my shot.
Who's that?
John Hopwood has joined us. Yeah, sciatica is miserable. I've had it, but only intermittently. I've never had it consistently, but yeah, it can be really miserable. When your back hurts, when your legs hurt, it just makes everything kind of miserable, you know?
I got really overweight
I
recently.
just took a look at the time. It's 5 o'clock. It's hockey hour.
This is virtual John Hopwood.
Oh, this is actually virtual John Hopwood. It's a newly interactive virtual John Hopwood.
Ooh.
Ooh. Anyway, I just wanted to go ahead and clear the air because I know the Facebook chat is lagging or lags behind the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm glad you did, Charles. Thank you.
Yep. Take care.
All right, you got it. Bye-bye. That's our friend Charles Richardson. Before we go to break, I do want to just finish up with these comments here. And welcome, John.
Hello.
Chime in on anything you'd like. Our friend Crystal joins us in the chat and says, I hate when people take out their frustrations on employees, COVID or not COVID. Absolutely. It's not the employee's fault. They have to follow whatever they are told by their employer, city, state, and federal. Yeah, absolutely. Tony Petrello says, hey, I'd rather listen to a call from Ron. Well, what do you know? Referring to all the COVID talk. We'll do something else in the second hour, I promise. Karen Kubit joins us in the chat room. Hello, Karen. Karen called us a little bit earlier. Crystal says, I wouldn't be alive without my 2 blood transfusions. Yep. Rocky says, I agree with Matt when he said that open heart surgery makes you vulnerable to viruses. If you remember in the beginning of the onset of COVID, they canceled all elective surgeries because of the risk. Well, that and hospitals are so bogged down. Oh, Tony Petrello says, hey, Matt, glad they found your dad's keys.
They did?
Yeah, me too. Yeah, they finally found them. They found, I was picking up my father at the cardiac rehab, and our plan was, this was yesterday, and our plan was we were going to leave there, go to Somersworth Nissan. They were going to give us a key that would allow us to at least unlock the steering column so then the car could be towed. Then we're going to have the car towed to Somersworth Nissan where they could make and program the actual keys. And so that was our whole plan. And then as I'm standing there in the room with my dad, as you know, he's waiting for the nurse to give him his paperwork and whatnot, Wentworth Douglas Hospital calls me, and the woman from Patient Experience, I think was the department, she says, hey, I have great news. We found your dad's keys. I was like, wow.
Patient Experience? I thought that was one of the bands you were in.
No, that was Experienced Patients.
Patients.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But, so they did find my dad's keys.
Well, that's good.
Yes.
When after my father died at the Danbury Hospital, which used to have lots of billboards on 84 saying it was one of the top 100 hospitals in America, somebody stole his clothes.
Yeah, I saw that Facebook comment. Yeah.
And then my friend Big Steve, after shows up a week later because they finished off his brother, who was the vice president of a big company there. You know, they had a real week or two there down at the Danbury Hospital.
Jeez, this sounds like it. Oh my goodness.
That's part of,
Yeah.
part of life.
It is.
Death in America.
Crystal says in the chat, people do some weird stuff under the guise of religious beliefs.
Oh, and how?
Jim Jones and his 900+ drinking poison-flavored Kool-Aid.
And killing a congressman, Leo Ryan.
The Branch Davidians in Waco, Texas, and that offshoot Mormon guy who they allowed to have sex with their wives. And is that David Koresh? Was that his name? That one cult who all committed suicide to ride on the comet. Oh, the Hale Bop people.
Well, you can't really. They didn't really hurt anybody, I guess.
Just
maybe
themselves.
loved ones.
Michael Alber is in the chat. Hello, Michael. Rocky Huber says, I think that 5G they inject you with along with the vaccine does wonders for back pain.
Jesus.
Jenny says, sometimes I wonder what choice these peeps would make in other situations like cancer surgeries. Fear stops a lot of people in medicine. It's sad because it's often fixable. Alfredo Enrique Benavides joins us in the chat room and says, no one complains about the pastafarians. Yes, that's true. Well, I rather enjoy pasta myself.
I think we did a show when you were still on Manchester Public TV about the pastafarians.
Did we?
Well, a vignette of maybe a couple minutes.
Ah, yes.
I remember having a graphic of their of a stained glass window with what looked like the spaghetti monster.
Ah,
Was that
yeah.
the same thing?
Yes.
Yeah.
He
yeah. So we did,
He boiled for our sins. Rocky Huber says, I drink Kool-Aid if John Hopwood made it. Just saying, LOL. Oh, very nice.
Would you like cherry or grape?
The flavor of Kool-Aid is very important. When I was a kid, I can't even believe I used to drink that stuff.
We all did.
Kool-Aid is gross. But I remember my mother would make Kool-Aid in the summertime. And there were these different flavors. And I remember liking all the flavors. But then all of a sudden, I don't know why this is so stuck in my memory. But I was just a kid. But there was a new flavor. Every once in a while, they would release a new Kool-Aid flavor. And there was this new flavor called Strawberry Falls. and it was disgusting. And I think that was the beginning of my realizing that Kool-Aid is actually disgusting. I mean, it's sugar-flavored water. It's gross.
Yep.
It's nasty. Anyway, let's take a quick break. Are you sticking around for the second hour?
Yes, I put money in my meter.
Excellent, excellent. All right, so we're gonna take a break. I'll play a little Hall & Oates for John, his favorite.
Oh, jeez.
And then
Lucky me.
And then we'll show some love to our amazing sponsors, and then we will be back with hour number 2, a numero dos of Matt Connarton Unleashed. Don't go away. Welcome back, everybody. We are well in hour number 2, numero dos of Matt Connarton Unleashed, and we are live from the studios of WMNH 95.3 FM in glorious downtown Manchester, New Hampshire. Also on Comcast 97 if you're in Manchester, and of course, hello to all of our online listeners across the nation and around the globe. You can go to my website, mattconnerton.com, for all of your live streaming options, social media links, contact info, show archives, etc., etc. Today is Wednesday, January 26, 2022. John Hopwood is here at the news desk.
Howdy, Matt.
Howdy. What are you?
I have some sad news.
Oh,
Another COVID-related death of a celebrity.
Oh, really?
Ozzy is dead at the age of 61.
Not Ozzy Osbourne.
No, Ozzy Osbourne is older than I am.
Well, I was going to say.
No, Ozzy is the world's oldest male gorilla, silverback gorilla.
Oh.
And he tested positive at the Atlanta Zoo a couple of months ago.
Oh, no kidding.
Along with the other gorillas.
Oh.
And, yes, he's passed away.
Oh, well, very sad.
But, you know, usually a gorilla doesn't make it that long anyway. So there's a woman gorilla or female or whatever. I feel like I've said something bad, the word female, in Paris, who's 64.
Oh, no kidding.
Oh, yeah, just like the Beatles song.
Do you know how long, it occurs to me, I don't know anything about how long gorillas usually live. How old do they typically get, do you know?
Well, when Ozzy was 48, he became the first gorilla in the history of medical science to have his blood pressure taken, and he was considered geriatric back then.
Oh, no kidding.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting. Wow. Huh, I'll be damned.
The other big story that I think we should put out here at WMNH, folks, if you have heating oil here in New England, rather than the traditional wait till your oil tank's down to a quarter to order your oil, they're saying in Maine, where there's a big problem with heating oil deliveries, to do it at half a tank. And sure enough, today I called and they said they can't deliver oil for 12 days.
Wow.
They're scheduling out 12 days and more.
Okay.
Part of that is probably, from what I hear from other people, is having problems hiring drivers.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And, you know, but my sister, usually always get, I've never gone like more than 2 days, unless you're on a weekend, where they'll bring the oil to you.
Right.
And she had 4 days, another provider.
Yeah.
But I almost, if I had a dental plate, I would have dropped it, Matt.
Wow.
If I had a toupee, it would have swirled around in my head.
Wow.
And, oh, yeah.
That's remarkable.
Well,
I mean,
yeah.
the visuals of those two things are...
Right, but, you know, I decided against the toupee very early on, you know, when I started balding.
Well, good for you.
Yeah.
Well, you have a good shaped head.
I have a very high forehead, but that's, I'd say common amongst Hopwoods, but actually I get it from my mother, and all the Hopwoods of my generation have it. And her maiden name was Horgan, you know, an Irish name.
Ah,
Horgan
yes.
Mayo.
Yes.
But we kind of, I guess, you know, she went by the name Eileen Hopwood for most of her life, you know, 68 years. So, call it the Hopwood forehead.
Oh, yeah. I have a cone head. I'm from France. But
Do you eat mass quantities?
yeah, yes. The youngins listening are like, huh? But
You're an old fart? No.
I guess so. Well, I do want to remind everyone, of course, we are sponsored by the Hop Knot in the Brady Sullivan right across the street. And tomorrow night is Trivia Night, hosted by the great Bill Cini. And they have another Gender Blender event coming up on February 5th. And
Is Erica Gagnon going to be there?
well, I wondered, based on that picture that we saw, which has actually been removed, apparently.
Removed from what? Why would the morning
Facebook.
show remove it?
No, it's from Facebook. I went to comment on it, and I could no longer comment on it.
I have a picture of it.
Oh, do you?
I took a screenshot from my show.
Did you really?
Yeah, it was the last Ward 13 today.
What do you mean?
We have a new name next week.
You've changed. How many times have you changed the name?
Yeah, but it
of
always
that
goes
show?
back.
Well,
you
I know. Yeah.
It was Ward 13. Then when you were co-hosting with me, we tried the Phil Boyd Studge Hour, but that got canceled faster than the Tammy Grimes show back in the 1960s. One episode.
Uh-huh.
Then what did I try? I tried. I can't even remember.
I
now.
can't either. Yeah.
I remember when I ran for something at large. I called myself Hopwood at large for a bit, but that was a gross and unethical pitch for votes, which I only got 500. What was it called? There was a name.
There was another
because
name.
it was a close to Glenn R.J. Ouellette, the People's Mayor's old newspaper.
If I look at the IPM Nation YouTube
didn't have the name.
channel, I can
What was
find
it
it.
called?
Yeah, it's funny. I'm trying to blank on it because
remember.
whatever that other name was that you're thinking of, it was called that for a while.
For like months and months.
And then you finally went back to Ward 13.
And Glenn actually complimented me because the name was close to his.
Now, what is the while I look for that? So, what is the new name?
WPYP TV Manchester.
WPYP.
Yes.
What is
Because as I told Eric Pilcher, who was on my show today,
Oh, he was.
40 minutes we were talking about Apocalypse Now and The Godfather.
Oh.
I think that the two of us are going to do a podcast on classic movies.
Oh, no kidding. Oh,
It's
that's
so enjoyable talking to him.
That's really cool. Yeah, we love Eric. Eric's great.
And I said the name of the book I'm writing is We Pick Your President, but that's too ponderous a title, for a show. So WPYP.
Wow, very good.
Although, it does have the disadvantage of having two P's in there, but I don't think, make that much of a difference.
Right.
Nobody wants to inadvertently trigger memories of micturation, which is the Greek based word for urination, or any type of bodily function involving waste in their listener. But, pick president, PP. What can you do, Matt?
Right.
What can you do? I'm actually, We pick your president. Here in New Hampshire, we pick your president. And we definitely gave you Donald Trump.
I'm way back in 2019 on here, and I'm still.
No, that was back in 2018.
2018 was when the show had the other name?
I can't remember what it is.
I know I'll be able to find it. I thought I'd be able to find it.
So I'll just, while you're doing that, what should I talk about? Oh, well, we had an interesting show today, but we can't talk about the first 20 minutes where I talked about a messianic local politician who wants to redeem the Queen City, which is the nickname for Manchester.
Yes.
Because traditionally, if a city is the biggest city in a state, but it's not the capital, it's the Queen City, the capital being the King City. Boston is both the biggest city and the capital of Massachusetts, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. But here we have Concord.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way we pronounce Concord, Concord, and that's where the capital is. And it's a quaint little city. You used to live in Concord or Concord, didn't you?
I did. So I'm all the way back in 2018, and I'm still seeing Ward 13. But I've got to be.
It's
close.
It's on your platform.
I know. I'm just kind of scrolling through, thinking I'll
It had
see
to do
it.
something. What was Glenn's newspaper's name?
Um,
Do we have Glenn on? Call him up.
Did it have Queen City? Was Queen City in the name?
Yeah, it was Queen City Chronicle. That's it, the Queen City Chronicle.
There we go.
Because we had the Chronicle.
Yes.
Queen City Chronicle.
Now,
and that really wasn't a name. It'd be better for like Glenn RGOLA. Because Glenn is of the Queen City.
yes.
Queen City. He loves this place almost as much as Lewiston, Maine, or the International Bridge at Mugwump.
By the way, Scott Robinson joins us in the chat, one of your biggest fans, and he says, "Can John be the entertainment reporter?"
No. That's something for a younger person.
Yes. Entertainment reporting is a young man's game.
Scott, there's a lot of exciting things that'll be going on in Ward 9. Send me a Facebook message.
Oh, wow. Ooh.
Oh, yeah, Ward 9.
Ooh. 603-250-6007 is the number if you'd like to join us, 603-250-6007. You can also text us at 617-917-4476. Tweet me at Matt Connarton or send an email to matt@mattconnerton.com. And, of course, you can interact and opine in the Facebook Live chat, but the best thing to do is to call us at 603-250-6007. Today is Wednesday, so I do want to remind you all, too, that tonight Jenny will be on the Charles Richardson show. We talked to Charles a couple of times earlier, but Jenny is one of the co-hosts on that program. The show is on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Jenny is officially on every Wednesday and Friday, and so that will be on tonight from 7 to 9 p.m. Also, John reminded me, Gonzo. Congratulations to Gonzo and his wife. They have a new child.
What's the child's name?
I can't remember.
Erica?
No, I don't think so. No, I can't remember. It was an unusual name. I forget what it is now. But congratulations to them.
Detachable.
That's the name of the kid?
That would be an unusual name to be like Detachable Gonzalez.
That would be an unusual. Well, I don't know if you know this, but I in high school some friends and I had a band called Detachable Gonzalez. It was
but that was with a Z at the end.
Well, that's
he has
true.
an S at the end because he's Polish.
Yeah,
remember?
right.
The Polish Gonzalez.
Yes.
Yeah, a very unusual name for Poles, but what can you do? Now, Matt.
I just want to say a new name in the chat room. Hello to Squirming Coil, who likes the Detachable Gonzo, LOL.
Squirming Coil.
Also, another great name for a band.
Is that like one of those birth control devices that were popular in the 70s?
I was
Squirming Coil.
I was too young in the 70s to know.
Ooh,
All I know is if it was, I'm glad my parents didn't use one, or I wouldn't be here.
What if Jesus's parents, what were their names, Joseph and Mary?
Yes.
Joseph and Mary.
Well,
what if Joseph and Mary had gotten an abortion? Did you ever think of that, Matt Covington?
Yes.
Would he have come back? Well, his soul was even more immortal than our immortal souls.
Oh,
perhaps he had been aborted in an earlier incarnation.
Apparently, Squirming Coil is the first song on the B-side of the Fish album Lawn Boy.
Well, is this the guy that's going to call in and just use all band names?
I don't know, but I did look it up too. Also, Squirming Coils were in fact recalled by the FDA in 1978. So that answers your question. Hey, can I ask you about what's going to happen? Is Putin going to invade Ukraine?
Why would he have to do that?
I don't think we've talked about that with you. We've talked about it on the show, but not with you.
Why would he have to invade Ukraine? There's nothing there.
Well, he wants to. He's nostalgic for the days of Mother Russia.
Well, the Rus was in Kiev before it established itself in Moscow or Moskva. And I don't understand why people don't say it's Moskva in Russian. How hard's that to say? But you got we say Moscow, but then the English, Moscow. And then suddenly, like 10, 15 years ago, everybody like CBS News, Moscow. Because everybody, the WASP, the Anglo-Saxon, which, I'm a part of that culture, although poor, so, didn't go very far. Everybody, we got overthrown like a generation ago or more in a long-going process.
Mm-hmm.
Being a WASP isn't the thing that it was. But everybody wants to be in their mind, no matter how this, that, or what, radical or self-identify. They all want to be like English, like in the Masterpiece Theater. Oh, I'm watching The Crown. Or they're watching a show made up about my cousin, Diana. Diana Spencer, the Princess of Wales. I mean, it's really irritating. I mean, I don't want to watch this crap, but I'm part of the whole plan.
I've heard it's a great show, but I've never seen it. I watch very little television.
I watch hardly any television. You don't consider Pornhub TV?
I don't know what that is. Now,
yeah,
but
neither do I.
Yeah, never heard of it. Now, but I do have a friend in radio who told me once that he was taught in broadcasting school. They had an expression: "There's no cow in Moscow," and that's why they say Moscow. That's like a rule. There's no cow
I
in
almost
Moscow.
made an obscene gesture.
Now, so
Moskva.
do you think that Putin is just menacing because he's trying to get something else?
Yeah, sure.
So, yeah, sure. Is that what you think?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. All right. I didn't know.
He's pressuring. He can pressure the West. You know, you don't have to go to war. You can just pressure.
Right.
Pressure. That's part of geopolitics. There used to be war games, you know, played with the first simulations. You put troops here, and that triggers a response from, you know, Russia would put troops on the border of Iran or the Shah, that will engender a response from the United States, and it ratchets up the defense condition going towards nuclear war. I mean, when the United States invaded Iran to try to get the hostages, that was a real breach of, you know, the balance of power. Iran was pro-West. Russia had briefly tried to occupy it in World War II, but didn't succeed because, you know, when you have Hitler right on the outskirts of Stalingrad and Leningrad, you've got bigger problems.
You know, I remember that. I remember that morning, and I was just a little guy.
When you were in Stalingrad?
No. I remember the morning when Carter sent them in to get the hostages, and it was, you know, a disaster. And I remember asking my dad about it and him explaining it to me.
Tom Massingale and I were at BU. We were in somebody's crappy apartment listening to it on the radio, and because they had instituted the draft, and everybody had to register the draft unless you were born in 58 and 59, and so we didn't have to.
Oh,
so we didn't have to make the decision of registering for the draft or not. And we both, you know, we were president of the College of Liberal Arts Student Government. We did stuff to, like, you know, finance a bus to go down to a draft protest in Washington and everything. It was bull, you know, Jimmy Carter. It was bull. And the whole thing about the draft and that. But that was scary.
yeah.
But later on, I found out because, you know, people like my brother, who was in the Air Force, who'd never had any combat training and had qualified with a M16 modified for 22 long rifle ammunition, not the 223 that we fired in the Army. I mean, he wasn't prepared for that. They were getting ready to put them on the C-5s, the big aircraft, to send them to Iran. It was just such a cluster. And they allowed all these tens of thousands of troops, if not who knows how many, to call mom at home. So anybody, you know,
Really?
Iran must have known what was going to happen because the Soviets would have picked up the traffic. Everybody would have. They know what's happening, that they're going to move these troops and invade Iran.
Yeah.
But Jimmy Carter couldn't pull that off.
Yeah.
I mean, well, it was, but that happens, you know, when you send in the helicopters and they go down.
It was a risk. It was a big
it was
risk.
very badly prepared. It was understaffed. 5 helicopters in a situation like that is not enough. I'm sure your father could talk about stuff like that.
Yeah.
It was just so badly planned, because I remember the Washington Post did this great piece right after it happened about what happened.
Yeah.
I mean, the United States was humiliated.
Yeah.
But my point is by going into Iran, that would affect the balance of power, and the Soviet Union would have reacted. And they were prepared, the Defense Department, to throw tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of troops into there.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, just a few troops in any place is enough to pressure somebody. The beauty of being like a country like Russia, you don't have to do much to actually really foul things up for the United States
Mm-hmm.
or the West, or to project your power. First of all, Germany is falling right into line because 39% of the energy in the EU, and probably more in Germany, comes from Russia.
Yep.
So they could destroy the German economy like that.
Yeah.
And so you just move. The Chinese are great at that. The Chinese have invaded India in my lifetime. I don't remember the Indian one because it's 3 years old, 1962, and Vietnam in 79. They go in briefly, and then they pull out. They establish what they want. They get what they want. They're not stupid like France or the United States or Russia, the Soviet Union. Oh, we'll occupy this hellhole, Like if it's Vietnam, the French got utterly defeated, and then we got utterly defeated in the exact same ways.
Yeah.
That's the best and the brightest. Pulitzer Prize winner from, one of the great books. We did every error that the French did, And then Soviet Union is defeated in Afghanistan. A primitive country, if we can use a term like that. Backward country. Of course, it's being supplied with arms from the United States. A book from the Soviet Union. You just have to supply just a little. And that will tie down one of the biggest armies of its time, which was a paper tiger, but that's a different
Yeah, you've
situation.
talked. Yeah, you've.
But look at Afghanistan defeated the United States.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take much to actually project your power.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't take that much,
I've been, we've been talking about it on the show, and I've said, and actually, Mike Sudworth and I were talking about it yesterday, and we agreed that, we don't think that Putin is actually going to invade, but
what would he get for it?
Well,
he's going to keep the Crimea,
right? Well, of course,
but that was part of Russia that was given to Ukraine by Khrushchev when he was trying to establish himself in '54 as the boss.
Yeah.
The boss of bosses, the capo di tutti.
But he needs an off ramp, right? Putin needs to be able to say that he got something out of this, and I wonder what that is. What do you think?
What would he get out of it? Well, he likes to screw with the United States.
Mm-hmm.
It turns out, from everything I've read, his interference in our elections with Trump is grossly over-exaggerated. That the fantasy is coming apart. But, that's the point. When you're reporting news, that's part of there's news and there's history. But it seemed like a valid scenario at the time. That must have irritated them to no end.
Mm-hmm.
The whole thing about Russia is just to establish itself and keep itself secure. That's been their entire, from the Russian Empire to the Soviet Union.
Mm-hmm.
They call it establish a defensive glacis. A glacis is a fort, and then there are works and land surrounding the fort that have to be kept too. That's called the glacis. They used to think Poland was the glacis. Poland was once part of the Soviet Union, and that's why they had the satellite countries of Eastern Europe. But Ukraine, I guess, Ukraine only means the frontier. It always astounds me how Russians hate the Ukrainians because everybody hates everybody. That's where diversity. Well, countries that are diverse, even like Belgium when I was in Germany, and the different three major ethnic groups in Belgium all hated each other. But
we have
to me, a Ukrainian and Russian, it's almost like you're dealing between Northern Ireland, a Protestant and a Catholic. It's a little different, but it's like,
Yeah. Well,
it's almost like a Ukrainian is a Southerner in the United States. And, we had a civil war.
Just about ready to have the phone go ding-a-ding.
we have a call.
Is that our beloved Glenn Argento?
I don't know what you're talking about. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed. Who's this?
Hey, is this Manchester, New Hampshire I called?
No.
I was trying to actually reach the Howie Carr show.
Oh, boy.
Howie, is that you, Howie? Howie, when are you going to retire? Because it looks like I'm compelled to finally retire. Howie, I was going to work till I was 80. You know what I mean?
Oh my
and then
goodness.
take a risk, but it doesn't look that way.
No, no, it
All right,
doesn't.
Matt. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm not going to hold the radio show up, especially when you talk about the Civil War. You know, that freaks me out.
The War of the Rebellion,
Yeah.
properly.
The War of Rebellion. Hey, is that John?
Yes, that
Right
is
here?
John Hopwood is
John,
here.
oh,
Yes.
John, I got to tell you. Listen, I want to acknowledge this publicly. Matt knows this. I could get in some trouble, but what the heck? After you have major heart surgery, you see things differently. You know what I mean, John? So here's the thing. And I know you love history like I do, John. In that 1864 election,
Yo, yo.
when Lincoln was behind, remember? And
Oh,
Lincoln
yeah.
was behind for a while in the polls. And that knucklehead McClellan, who never advanced on anybody except maybe his wife, I said it respectfully, little joke there. But so he was ready to compromise. You guys do what you want with slavery, we'll do what we want in the North. And finally, Sherman and Grant
Broke
began
through.
to have victories, and it turned the tide. But here's the acknowledgement, John. Don't tell anybody. I know I'm going to be on record now, but I voted for Lincoln twice during that election. I was so frightened.
Mm-hmm.
Will you forgive me?
I'm pro Abe Lincoln.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
My great
Absolutely.
grandfather fought in the War of the Rebellion for the Union, which was unusual because he came from Litchfield, New Hampshire, which was Copperhead Democrats. You know.
Huh.
That's right.
yeah.
That's right.
So.
And then
yeah.
you had Franklin Pierce, who wasn't exactly a trailblazer by any
Who
means.
used
Good man, and he had
who kept
terrible
his
tragedy.
correspondence with Jefferson Davis through the War of the Rebellion. They a
know.
group was going to lynch him the night of Lincoln being assassinated, but he was a very good advocate, a lawyer, and he went out and he calmed them down.
Yes,
Yeah, but
he was. Yeah, he was very bright, very sensitive.
But he
And
had
he
that
lost
tragedy,
his child in that terrible accident, John. on
the
way to
railroad
Capitol.
accident.
That was awful.
and that made him an alcoholic, I think, or he was.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, and his
That's
wife
right, John. Absolutely.
went into such a depression.
And I think that obviously affected his presidency adversely too. You know,
Yeah.
it was just a terrible, terrible thing to have happen. So anyway, I won't hold you guys up, John. I appreciate your historical perspectives. We
Well,
need
thank
that.
you.
You know, I talked to some young social workers, some of whom I supervise, and they don't get it, John. They don't appreciate history. They don't know. History,
Nobody
you
ever
know?
does, and that's the tragedy. Because, as Santayana said,
absolutely.
those who don't know history are condemned to repeat it. But,
Absolutely, George Santayana. Yes, I agree. Well, listen, guys, good work, and I just wanted to thank Matt publicly and Jenny publicly and the team for all their support. It's not an easy thing to go through. It's interesting.
No, it's not.
As I told Matt, I was reading an article by this nutritionist on the left coast. I call it the left coast,
I like
and he was very good. You know, it's a Mediterranean diet, not too much pasta though. And but then at the end of the article, he said, when you hit 75, everybody, the body begins to break down.
That's
in
absolutely
substantial-
true.
Sometimes substantial ways. So I thought, John and Matt, hey, he's not talking about me, is he? Within 4 weeks, bada bing, bada boom. You know what I mean? Oh,
I
my
told
God.
Matt about. Remember, I told you about that at
Yeah.
75. 'Cause my father was this macho guy, and another person I
Yeah.
know at 75, something just happens, and it doesn't even have to have like a tragedy like the heart attack or anything. It's just I don't know why
No.
it's 75, but it might be biblical. Suddenly,
Yeah.
my father
Yeah,
tried to
I think
lift
so.
a 32-inch Sony TV, which weighed like 175 pounds, and it sat him right down.
Really?
And he was never the same after that.
Oh wow.
Well, he had.
Oh, yeah. No.
He was always this.
Yeah. Those
Built
things
like
can
that.
happen to us,
Yeah.
yeah. But we have to have faith and hope and keep going. You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
one of the worst things is you get depressed about it and you feel lonely, and then it makes it worse. No, it's not
What-
good.
One of the things that I guess I was an agnostic. My father was agnostic or an atheist, but he had cancer,
Was
and
he?
pain was so
Oh,
bad.
I'm sorry.
He had his World
Yeah.
War II Polish Raiden pistol with a Nazi thing stamped on it.
Yeah.
And I wish we hadn't sold it after he died because it's worth thousands of dollars now. But he
Oh,
said
yeah,
that he
yeah.
had that, and he said that he was going to kill himself. And he said, he hadn't talked to
Yeah.
God in a long time. He said, if you don't relieve the pain. And I remember my stepmother, he never touched me, came up to me because she had absorbed a lot of his
Yeah.
agnosticism, which was of that
sure.
time. And she said, I can't, it stopped. And then eventually my father and I
Yeah.
both went back years later, if you baptized as Congregationalists.
No, that's interesting.
Oh,
I've
but,
never heard you tell that story. Wow.
Yeah, because my father's not. The pain was so horrible from cancer.
Yeah.
That, and
I can
he
relate.
appealed to God, and God relieved the pain. You could say, you could have it.
Yeah,
You could have your
yeah.
own explanation of what happened.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, sometimes. No, I believe that fully, John. Sometime I got to tell you guys about an experience I had in Norfolk, Virginia. I'm not going to say it today.
I know
I'll let you guys
Norfolk,
go by.
Virginia well.
Similar kind of metaphysical experience with God, John. Though.
Yeah.
And I'll never. It changed my life. I'll never forget it. I came back from Southeast Asia, and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do when I got out. Although I was leaning toward the priesthood at that point, but it was an amazing event, but very similar. And John, I got to tell you, my dad made the Normandy landing, and so he was a brother with your father, if you know what I mean.
Well, my father was
brave man.
My father was joined when he was a kid, and they missed the invasion of Japan because of the bomb. But his father was a combat veteran in World War I in France, Saint-Mihiel and all that. Here's the thing. My father inherited his agnosticism from his father, who always said, I'll bend my knee to no man. I mean, they went to church. He'd go to church because you had to do that. And he was the head of the American Legion, New Hampshire Combat after that. But what he told my uncle, who was also my great uncle or great granduncle, who was also a combat veteran, and told my father, because, combat veterans don't often tell anybody but what they went through. But he was stuck in no man's land, and he couldn't find his way back. And he heard Christ was in a bonfire, the voice. It was Jesus telling him which way to go and addressing him by his name. And
yes.
And so here's no atheists in foxholes. I believe that's true to a great degree. I've never been in combat. But he actually had an experience like that, and he was agnostic. And he was probably agnostic afterwards, too. But that was
Well, but at least there's a tenuous relationship there with that happens.
You're right.
And we don't know what they're thinking and feeling inside, because those men you're talking about, and to a certain degree, my generation too, to some extent, they would hold much in. They would hold a lot in.
My father, held everything, and even when I'd bring him back from radiation treatment, and he'd be trying to hold not express any pain or anything, and you could see him shaking from the radiation.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but he was brought up by his father, a World War II combat. You don't show any emotion.
Yeah.
Well, we gotta wrap up, but
good hearing from you.
Yeah, Dad, I'm very glad to hear from you, because
and your car,
we're trying
you're getting it back.
We're trying to reach earlier, but yes, he does have his car. Thank God.
No kidding.
Well, that was a miracle, John. That was a miracle from God. I'm telling you.
Yeah, speaking of,
it
that's
was.
another story. I'll shut up. I know you guys got to wrap up. But thanks again, Matt. Thanks, John, for all you do. I appreciate it.
Okay.
All right, Dad. Love you. Thank you for the call.
You're welcome. My pleasure. Love you too. Peace.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Just quickly, the only thing Putin wants is he wants Ukraine to fall in line,
Yeah.
He's pressuring, but going to war, what's he going to accomplish? If it was, it might be border skirmishes.
Right.
But, Russians Soviet Union was the second great power of the world, and they still psychologically think of themselves that way.
Yeah. Well, they've still got the nukes. But
yes, they do.
Yes, they do. All right. Well, John, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me on.
This has been wonderful, and thank you to everybody who called today. Don't forget, tonight, Jenny will be on the Charles Richardson Show, as she is every Wednesday and Friday. And if you miss any part of this program today, it will be up in just a little bit at WMNHradio.org and at my website, mattconnarton.com. And we're going to go ahead and get out of here. And I will talk at y'all a little bit later.